Hi, this is Matt Baker. When it comes to political dynasties in Canada, most people only know about the Trudeau family, which of course includes the recent Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, as well as his late father Pierre Trudeau, who also served as Prime Minister. Both of them belong to the Liberal Party, which is considered center-left, in contrast to the Conservative Party, which is center-right. But Canada also has another party, which is even further to the left, the NDP, or New Democratic Party. Until recently, it was led by Jagmeet Singh, but after the party's poor showing in last year's election, he resigned, and therefore the NDP is currently in the middle of a leadership race. The three frontrunners are Heather McPherson, who is the more pragmatic candidate, closer to what you might expect from a Liberal, Rob Ashton, who is a union leader focused on workers' rights, and Avi Lewis, who is perhaps the most ideological, and who has been compared to Zoran Mamdani. But what a lot of people don't know about Avi Lewis is that he's actually a fourth-generation member of a family that has been involved in Canadian politics for over 100 years, a family that includes not only politicians, but several prominent authors and activists. So today, I'm going to show you the family tree of the Lewis family. Let's start with Moishe Lewis, who at the time of his birth in 1888 was named Moishe Lewis. Like many Eastern European Jews from that generation, he was born in a small shtetl, which was at the time a part of the Russian Empire. As a young adult, he became involved with the Jewish Labor Bund, which was a socialist party made up of secular Jews. Unlike some other Jewish groups at the time, members of the Bund were not Zionists. They wanted to remain in Europe, help establish a socialist society there, while at the same time maintaining their Jewish culture and identity. For this reason, they promoted Yiddish as the language of the Jewish people, not Hebrew. However, after the success of the Russian Revolution, the Bolsheviks wanted Jews to completely assimilate, something that Moishe Lewis and other Bundists disagreed with. At this point, things got very dangerous for them, and therefore in 1921, Moishe decided to take his family and immigrate to Canada. Upon arrival, the family anglicized their surname to Lewis, and Moishe sometimes went by Morris. Once in Canada, he remained active in socialist circles, joining both the Jewish Labor Committee and the Workmen's Circle. His son David was the next person in the family to get involved in politics. After completing his initial studies in Canada, he got a scholarship to Oxford, where he solidified his anti-communist, pro-socialist views, becoming involved in the early days of the British Labour Party. He was even offered a seat in the UK House of Commons, but turned it down, opting instead to return to Canada, where he became the National Secretary of the recently formed Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, the predecessor of the NDP. Around the same time, he married Sophie Carson, the daughter of Hyman Carson and Edith Epstein. Now, at this point, I need to say a few words about the surname Epstein, because it also showed up on Zoran Mamdani's family tree, and a lot of people made comments about it. What you need to know is that Epstein is a very common Jewish surname. So in most cases, like this one, there's no connection to Jeffrey Epstein. So out of respect for the victims, no silly comments, please. During the 1950s, David Lewis practiced labor law while at the same time continuing his involvement in the CCF. Then, in 1962, after the CCF became the NDP, he ran for election and became a federal MP. Now, the first leader of the NDP was Tommy Douglas, known as the father of Canadian healthcare. Interestingly, his daughter Shirley, who was an actress and who was also very active in the U.S. civil rights movement, married Donald Sutherland, the famous actor. Together, they became the parents of Kiefer Sutherland, yet another famous actor. Anyhow, in 1971, Tommy Douglas retired as leader of the NDP and was replaced by David Lewis, who served until 1975. After this, Ed Broadbent took the reins and helped the party grow even more. The next generation includes Stephen Lewis, who became an elected politician around the same time as his father, although in Stephen's case, it was at the provincial level, as a member of the Ontario Parliament. Later, he became the leader of the Ontario NDP, and then after that, he served as Canada's ambassador to the UN, as well as in several positions relating to the AIDS crisis in Africa. He is married to Michelle Landsberg, who is an accomplished activist in her own right. As a writer working for major publications such as the Globe and Mail and Toronto Star, she was among the first Canadian journalists to talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. Stephen's brother Michael and sister Janet were both involved with the Ontario NDP on the organizational side, and his sister Nina is notable in that she's the business partner and wife of the famous architect Daniel Libeskind, designer of the Jewish Museum in Berlin, among many other projects. Let's now go down one more generation. Like his mother, Avi Lewis has so far worked mostly as a journalist, hosting programs for both the CBC and Al Jazeera. Although now, like I say, he's currently running to become the next leader of the federal NDP. His wife is the famous author Naomi Klein. Interestingly, the rabbi who married Avi and Naomi is the same rabbi who married my wife and I. Anyhow, Naomi Klein often gets confused with Naomi Wolf, so take note that Klein is the one who wrote the anti-globalization and anti-capitalist books No Logo, The Shock Doctrine, and This Changes Everything. Both she and Avi are also known for their criticism of Israel and for being longtime supporters of the Palestinian cause, something that I feel is important to point out, as many people seem to think that all Jews are ardent Zionists, which is actually not true. Avi has two sisters. Ilana was recently appointed as the head of Rainbow Railroad, a charity that helps LGBT people escape violence in their home countries. She was previously married to Lorraine Segato, the lead singer of the Parachute Club. Jenny is a casting director, together with her partner, Sarah Kay. They recently cast the leads for the hit show Heated Rivalry. Finally, I'd like to point out Naomi Klein's brother, Seth, who is a climate change activist, and her mother, Bonnie Scher, who is a disability rights activist. So lots of interesting people on this tree. All right, so that was a look at the Lewis family, one of the most prominent political families on the Canadian left. Take note that the NDP leadership vote will happen on March 29th. So that's when we'll find out whether or not the NDP will get the grandson of a previous leader as their new leader. Thanks for watching.